Hey everybody, I know this one is a little bit longer than usual, but trust me, you do not want to miss it. It's packed with information, really good stuff. There's a challenge at the end, over 8 minutes of really hilarious bloopers, and a bunch of other fun stuff. So just stick it out. You won't regret it. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to the SunModo podcast, where we shine the light on people, ideas, and innovation driving the solar industry forward. I'm your host, Office Mom Cheryl, and in each episode, we sit down and talk to different people in the company, and I'm hoping to get more people outside of the company to see what's happening in the solar world and where we're headed and what we can all do to make it brighter and better together. So today we have a very special guest joining us, our very own CEO Steve Mumma here at SunModo. Steve wears many hats, and I'm excited to finally have this interview with you.
Very excited.
So, yeah, Steve, go ahead and tell us who you are, what you are, and why you're here.
I'm here because Cheryl made me.
At gunpoint.
So yes, I am Steve Mumma. I am the CEO of SunModo. I've been with SunModo now for 7 years, which is crazy. That also means I've been in the solar industry for 7 years because prior to SunModo, my whole career has been with basically construction materials manufacturers. My background is I have a civil engineering degree, and then I've worked in sales most of my career for companies that made products for the highway and heavy civil construction market, some commercial construction and whatnot. And then I had the great fortune of discovering this wonderful company and this amazing, infuriating, but mostly amazing industry of solar about 7 years ago. And have been here ever since, and I love it.
All right, Steve. So the solar industry has changed dramatically in the last decade. Where do you see the biggest shifts happening in the next year?
Interesting. I mean, every industry evolves sort of, gradually and organically over time, and the solar industry is in kind of a unique position over this last year, frankly, because that sort of, natural organic evolution of any industry was sort of, preempted by the One Big Beautiful Bill discussions that started back in the spring, because, the end result of that was losing the residential tax credit sooner than expected. And, my personal opinion, I feel like our industry is ready to survive and thrive without those federal tax credits. And in fact, I did a LinkedIn post along these lines while all the discussion was going on. And my point at the time, which I still stand by, is that I think we as an industry are ready to, again, survive and thrive without those tax credits in place. The difficulty that happened as a result of the bill was that rather than those credits being gradually phased out as was originally intended and as was already happening prior to the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, they just the residential one is going to go away completely at the end of this year, and we're going to get a bit of a ride down on the commercial one. So I think in the long run, them disappearing isn't going to have a dramatic effect on the industry. In the short term, it's definitely having a dramatic effect because it's resulted in a lot of scrambling, a lot of pivoting. There's a lot of installers now that previously did mostly residential work that are looking to either completely pivot to commercial or add a lot more commercial to their business. I think that's an evolution that would have happened somewhat naturally on its own, but it's being kickstarted by federal policy. And I guess that's affecting, SunModo to a certain extent as well. We kind of changed our focus probably 5 or 6 years ago to really focus a lot more on the residential market. And we're certainly not going to walk away from the residential market. And we certainly were planning to, gradually expand our commercial offerings. But this sudden change has kind of accelerated that process, and it's made commercial a much bigger focus for us. And we've already launched some products that are more focused on that. We're speeding up developments of others.
Do you think that less people will be motivated to install in residential areas?
I don't think so. And I think part of the reason, when I said that I think our industry is ready to survive and thrive without the residential tax credit, part of it is that, that tax credit doesn't magically make solar a good financial proposition. And I guess what I mean by that is, over this last 6 months, since we've gotten some clarity in where the industry's headed with the federal tax credits, talked to a lot of residential installers and commercial installers because it's important that I get a lot of perspectives on where the industry's headed so I can keep us pointed in the right direction. One of the things that surprised me about this industry is when I joined SunModo in the solar industry 7 years ago, I think particularly as somebody who's lived in the Pacific Northwest for 25 years or so, and I think as most people know, the Pacific Northwest is a fairly liberal place. I kind of entered with the assumption that the solar industry a lot of it was focused on, the stereotypical liberal tree hugger. And, what I quickly learned is that from a residential standpoint, people buy solar for 3 reasons. One is the liberal tree hugger. And then there's another group that is on the opposite side of the political spectrum, generally speaking. And those are the people who more likely to lean conservative or libertarian, and they like the independence. They like, not being reliant upon the government and the utility for their power. And that motivates them to get solar. The vast majority, however, of people that buy solar for their homes, it's a financial decision. They sit down, they look at, this is what I'm paying for my electric bill. This is what I'm going to pay for solar. It will pay for itself in X number of years. Therefore, it's a good financial investment. So the federal tax credit helps reduce that payback period, but there's other things that help reduce it. One of which is the cost of solar, which is recent tariffs have made that a little more challenging, but even in spite of that, the cost of solar is still steadily decreasing over time. Interest rates, which are currently a little high, but over time as they come back down, that makes solar more affordable. And the big one really is utility rates. That is a huge driver of solar adoption in the residential market, and utility rates just continually increase over time. And we're seeing in many parts of the country currently, we're seeing dramatic increases. So, those things all kind of combine to kind of make up for the fact that tax credit's going away. So, I think we might have a little blip here from a residential adoption rate, while sort of the industry is learning again how to sell to homeowners without that tax credit. But in the meantime, utility rates are going to keep going up. Interest rates will likely keep coming down. We'll see. And we're back where we were before. So, to answer your question, no.
Okay. What excites you most about where the solar industry is headed?
I talked a little bit already about the disruption that has occurred as a result of kind of the sudden changes in the federal ITC tax credits. And that's disruptive. It's kind of a quick change in the economics of how our industry operates, and it changes how people finance things, and it changes a lot of things. So it's disruptive. And disruption obviously can be frustrating, and it has at times been this year, but also disruption generally creates huge opportunity. And I think we're going to see the solar industry overall look probably a good bit different 2-3 years from now than it does today. And that presents an opportunity for companies and people who are forward looking to turn that disruption into an opportunity. And opportunity always excites me. That's why I came to SunModo. I saw SunModo as a company that was a good company and it was a strong company, but it had a lot of unrealized potential. And that opportunity is a lot of what excited me about coming to work at SunModo. And the same thing applies to our overall industry right now. That disruption creates opportunity, and that's a fun challenge from a business standpoint. And I love my job, and things that make it fun are why I love my job. It's an opportunity for SunModo as a company to find new ways to add value, find new ways to differentiate, and I'm really excited about it. We've got some really exciting things cooking, some of which we've already announced, like our commercial ground mount SunPier, and then a couple of other things that we're not quite ready to announce yet, that are all part of us, positioning ourselves to thrive in the new environment that's coming. And the challenging part is we don't know exactly what that new environment's going to look like, but I think if we do things well as a company, and we're doing it with the right partners in terms of the distributors we work with, the installers we work with, I think it puts us in a position to help drive the industry toward not just a different place, but a better place. And that's exciting. Plus, I get to work with you every day, so that's fun also.
If only you were here every day. What's your long-term vision for SunModo, and where do you see the company in 5 years from now?
5 to 10 years from now, I want us to be a bigger, thriving company. But I think one of my main focuses over that time frame will be, kind of as we grow and evolve, retaining a lot of what makes us special now. I guess what I mean by that is we're smaller currently than some of our bigger competitors, and that's disadvantageous in some ways, but it's also incredibly advantageous in other ways. We're smaller, we're nimble, we're quicker. We can be much more personal with our both distributor and installer customers just because we're smaller. And I think one of the main challenges I want to keep in mind as we grow and evolve is to keep that. I think it's harder when you're a bigger company, you have more people, more customers and whatnot. But that's part of what I love about what I do, is the close connection that I have with a lot of our customers, and that we as a company have with a lot of our customers. And I think it's been a big part of our advantage. And what's helped us have the success we have is that, that enables us to get really good product feedback, service feedback, and it's helped us iterate our products. And I think as companies get bigger, it's easy to kind of lose sight of that. And that's a huge, huge priority for me, is that as we grow, how do we maintain that small company feel, both internally, but then also with our connection to our customers in the broader industry.
Inside sales hat. I love cultivating those relationships. I really appreciate that.
I still spend a lot of time out talking to customers, and I think that's partly because I grew up professionally largely in sales, and once you get that bug, it's kind of hard to walk away from it completely. But beyond that, it's a lot of what has helped me know what our customers want, is because I'm not as reliant on a customer telling one of our salespeople and then telling somebody else and then me finding it out second and third hand. I get to hear it firsthand a lot of the time, and it's incredibly helpful because at the end of the day, it's kind of trite. I remember, so I initially learned how to be a salesperson from my father. My father owned a small manufacturing company that made battery packs and chargers and power supplies. And one of my early jobs was to go work for my father's company. And that was my first job in sales. And my father was a very good salesman. And I remember one of the first things he told me about sales was that people do business with people. And my dad didn't make that up, just to be clear. That's one of those sayings that's, and it sounds trite, but it's true. And, at the end of the day, people want really good pricing and they want a good product and all that stuff. And you got to have that. But the people part still really matters. And it makes it a lot more enjoyable, for me individually. And then I think also for us as a company.
I completely agree. I will always cultivate relationships with people. That is my job at SunModo.
Did I tell the story about that one time I found you talking to the mailbox? That's not true. That didn't happen. But I wouldn't be surprised.
Actually, fun fact, every time I go get the mail in the summertime and I go out there, I'm like, oh, please no bugs. And I put the key in the hole and then I slowly turn and then I step aside and open up the door because one time something flew out at me and I screamed bloody murder. I have screamed so many times at the mailbox because of something coming at me or attacking me. SunModo has built a reputation for innovation and reliability. How do you plan to keep that momentum going forward as the market becomes a bit more crowded?
The solar industry has changed a lot in the 7 years that I've been here. So the question of how do we plan to keep doing that? I think as you get bigger, it's easier to get complacent, and you have to maintain that drive to constantly be improving your products. And I think one of my core principles for leading a company, and I'm going to use some extreme language, so pardon me, but is that you've got to be willing to kill your babies. And what I mean by that, not my literal babies. In this case, babies are products, because when you develop a product as a company and then you sell it, it becomes like a child. One of the things that I think is really important to kind of maintain that reputation for innovation and reliability and to continue growing profitably is you've got to be willing to kill products, even ones that have been incredibly successful. But there also comes a time when you might need to say, all right, we're done with this one, we've got something better. And it can be sad because, as I said, you get kind of attached to products. So that's one thing that's really important. I think the other thing that's really important, and this was kind of one of my foundational principles when I took over at SunModo, was the most important word we need to learn is no. Aww. And what I mean by that is you can't say yes to every opportunity. And because if you do that, you lose focus and you end up kind of maybe somewhere you weren't planning to go, but also it detracts from your core mission of what you're trying to accomplish. So not every product should be launched. Not every customer should be a customer. And it is really important to maintain focus if you're going to keep that innovation going. And saying no is a really, really important part of that. I think the other thing that helps us in that regard is I get bored easily. And I guess, No, you don't say. And what I mean by that is it's a fun part of running a business from my perspective, in my opinion, the way my personality is and the way I'm wired is to always be looking to be better and look at what the next thing is going to be, seeing what the opportunities are out there, trying to predict where the industry's headed. And I love that part of this industry and this job. But part of the reason I love solar so much is it's been 7 years and I have not been bored at all. And we've got a pipeline now of new products that we're working on behind the scenes and getting ready to launch, and some of them will make it to market, some of them won't. But that kind of drive to be looking for new challenges to tackle is, I think, fundamentally important to keep that energy and innovation going in a company. So I think it helps that me, as the leader of this company, is somebody who's restless and gets bored easily. But I like that we have, our team in general is that way. I think we've built a pretty good culture of that, and part of that because that's my personality, but I think it's also because that's just the people we have, and I think that's going to serve us really, really well as we go into these next couple of years.
No, you have done a really good job of cultivating people who are probably like-minded in that way, I would say, because we all are like, hey, can we do this better? Is there a different way? Please. Yes. Thank you. And I appreciate that you give us leeway to try to make that happen. Yeah. Like, I really appreciate that, especially whenever with doing marketing things, like you're like, yeah, sure, try it, do it, and even before you're like, yeah, sure, try it, do it. We'll see what happens, yeah. And I know that that's very much appreciated amongst most of us, if not all of us, that you give us that autonomy to just run with something, yeah. Within a parameter, but still like, yeah, sure, try. And I appreciate that. So that's for sure.
Yeah. I think it's, there's lots of different ways to be a leader. There's no one way to do it. My opinion of leadership, and it certainly is how I prefer to do it, is that I don't see it as my job to provide, certainly not to provide all the answers, and I don't even want to provide most of the answers. I see my job as asking questions and then having a team of people that come up with ideas and answers, and then as a group we decide what makes sense to do. So it is vitally important to me to have a company that is full of people that are full of ideas, and we have that, which is great.
Yes we do. All right. Okay, you kind of talked a little bit about upcoming things and some newly released things, but what are some innovations that might be in the future, and how do you think that they will contribute to us solidifying our place in the racking world?
Yes, we definitely have exciting stuff. We've got a bunch of exciting stuff that we're not quite ready to talk about because it's not far enough along yet. But we have two big things that we're definitely ready to talk about, and it kind of ties back to something I said earlier about when you asked where I think the industry is headed. One of the things I said is that we're definitely seeing a move toward commercial, and we, starting about 5 years ago, had really focused much more heavily on residential, and we're in a good place now as a company to start building out our commercial product offerings. So one of the big ones is that we've very much become known in the residential space as the ground mount company, because our SunTurf ground mount system is phenomenal on the residential market. We've had incredible success with it. It's a full kit. We provide ground screws, so installers don't need concrete anymore. We provide pre-cut pipe, the whole nine things. It's an amazing system.
With updates.
With updates. Yes. But SunTurf is amazing for residential installs. Again, because you don't need much equipment. Once a project gets above, I don't know, 150 kilowatts or so, there's less expensive ground mount options, and those are generally driven pile systems. So SunTurf, you can certainly use one of those bigger jobs, but it's just not cost effective anymore because a steel driven post system is just a lot less expensive. So we have recently introduced our SunPier system, which is a steel pile driven system, and it opens us up to not just be the residential ground mount company, but also the commercial ground mount company. It's a super exciting product. We're at a really good price point on it. It's fully domestically manufactured, so it not only qualifies for domestic content, it meets Buy America or the BABA requirements. We've got a great supply chain on it, so we can crank materials out really quickly. Really limited SKU count. There's basically four main SKUs or so. So it opens up this whole chunk of ground mount market to us that we didn't really have access to before when we just had SunTurf. Now with SunPier, we are incredibly, I think now we're probably the most cost effective. So I'm incredibly excited to have that. It's been on our product roadmap for a couple of years, and we're also, at the same time we're launching our SunPier ground mount, we are now launching our SunSpan carport system, which is steel cantilever. We've got options. We've got a T frame, we've got a Y frame, we've got a one side, so we can handle pretty much any kind of parking configuration. And much like SunPier, it's fully domestic. We can provide full engineering support and pretty quick turnaround on those as well at a really, really attractive price point. So, as a company, we've been getting calls for carports for years that we've had to say no to because we just didn't have a good solution for it. And I'm incredibly excited that we do now because I think there's a hunger for more options in that space for the EPCs and installers that are doing those types of projects. And I'm really excited that we are now positioned to help those people out with a really, really good product that we can turn around quickly and provide them with the full support that they need. Make those projects easy for them, where previously they were probably struggling to find a racking partner to work with, or they were having to hire, just a local steel fab company to build a carport, and then they slap solar on the top of it. Whereas now we've got a full turnkey solution that, we're ready, willing, and able to do it for any project, whether it's 50 kilowatts or 2 megawatts. Very, very excited about those two products, and I think they're going to be a very, very big part of our business next year. I think ultimately my goal is an installer or an EPC where we can be their full racking partner for everything they need. We're not there yet. We've got a couple more products we need, but we're working on those. At the end of the day, our job is to help installers and EPCs make more money. That's what it is. It's not easy to be an installer or an EPC. And I think one of the things that we can do for them is we can make their jobs easier if racking can just be something they don't have to worry about anymore. They can focus on the other key components and permitting and design and engineering. If they know that they have a partner in SunModo that whatever the racking needs are, SunModo will take care of it. Good value, good service, good support, great products, done. Of course, in the same time, from a product standpoint, we're always still working on our residential products and to improve them and make them better. We take all the feedback we get and are constantly trying to evolve things. So we've got numerous products that are in various stages of improvement or next generation or whatever that I'm not quite ready to talk about because they're not at that point yet. But a lot of stuff going on in the product side.
So you wear a lot of hats. How do you personally stay grounded and focused while leading so many moving parts in our business?
Yeah, good question. One good thing is I love to wear a lot of hats. There's no one way to be a leader, to be a good leader. And there's all different types of personality types and skill sets that can result in somebody being a good leader. One of my strengths in leadership is that I'm kind of good at a lot of stuff. I don't know that I'm great at anything, but I'm good at a lot of stuff. And then also I enjoy a lot of stuff. So I love the fact that in my job, I get to be a part of the product design stuff because that's super fun. As I said earlier, I grew up in sales, so I always love working in sales. Marketing's fascinating because it gets into the psychology and sociology of people. The finance side of things, I love because I'm an engineer by education, and I love spreadsheets, and I love analysis and all that stuff. So I feel really fortunate that yes, I'm required to touch a lot of things, but I think I'd be less happy if I didn't have to do that. So, I mean, that's a part of my job that I actually really love, and it brings energy to me as opposed to taking it away. Like, yeah, I in the moment, it's not always easy for me to stay focused, but I do think one of my strengths is long-term focus. This is our goal, this is our mission as a company. Any individual decision that needs to be made, I think I'm pretty good at looking at it in terms of, does it serve this purpose? And if it doesn't, then we probably shouldn't do it. In a broad sense, I'm good at staying focused in that way. And I think that's really important. As far as how I stay grounded, exercise. I mean, honestly, that's a big part of it. If I don't exercise, my brain spins out of control. And I've got a great partner, and she helps keep me grounded and reminds me of the stuff that are really important in life. Got wonderful kids who they certainly help me stay grounded. Because I certainly, if I act like I'm too big a deal, they will be more than happy to tell me that I'm not that big a deal. So that's definitely helpful.
Lastly, what message would you share with the SunModo team and our partners about the road ahead? And what do you want our legacy as a company to be in the solar industry?
This has been an incredibly challenging year. And, I can remember back when I started in the solar industry 7 years ago, and I very quickly learned the term solar coaster, which is, how we refer to our industry and the sort of natural ups and downs to it. And every industry has its ups and downs and cycles and whatnot. It does seem like solar has more of them. And this year hasn't been a solar coaster. There have been moments where it felt more like a solar paint can shaker. And that's sort of, going back to the spring when it was, tariffs 1 week, and then the ITC is going to go away completely, and then it's going to stay, and then it's going to be this and that. And from day to day and minute to minute, it was difficult to see where the industry was headed. I think fortunately now we at least have clarity on the tax credits, and so there's a road ahead. And until we get into next year with the residential tax credit going away, we're not going to know exactly what that looks like. But I think the good thing is, we're at a point where we've been able to plan for that future. While we don't know exactly what's going to happen, we've been able to put the pieces in place to adapt and thrive kind of regardless of what happens. And, I think the message I wanted to share to the SunModo team is thanks for hanging in there. Because again, it's been a really, really challenging year. And I feel so incredibly fortunate that through the challenges and ups and downs of this past year, I feel so fortunate that I get to work with a group of people that show up to work excited, ready to work hard, ready to charge forward, ready to adapt to the latest thing that has changed. I feel beyond fortunate with that. And I just feel the deepest sense of gratitude for the people that I work with to go on this ride with them. I wouldn't want to do it with other people. As far as our message to our partners, who we are as a company, it's evolving, but our core ethos isn't changed. We changed our tagline a couple of years ago to leading by design. And, that was important to me because that's what I want us to be. I want us to lead the industry from a product design standpoint, but also then from a support and service and reliability standpoint. And, I think what I would want to say to our partners is that's not going to change. It's just going to become more so as we continue to add products. And, we're excited to play our role in helping to define what this industry is going to look like in the medium and long term, and hopefully making it a better industry, a stronger industry, a more resilient industry. I'm incredibly excited for SunModo to play a major role in doing that, not just for us as a company, but for the broader industry.
So thank you, Steve, for spending time talking with me. And thank you for all of your insights and your words of encouragement, your positivity. It is helpful. A big thanks for hanging out with me and giving everybody a peek behind the curtain here at SunModo. And if you had fun listening to our lovely conversation, please be sure to like, subscribe, and follow at the SunModo podcast on YouTube. And don't be a stranger and join us on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook, where I personally make a lot of fun things that you need to go check out. And thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one.
Everybody should go look at what Cheryl does on social media because it's fantastic.
I am festive, I'll tell you that.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you so much. Okay, bye.
All right, bye. I think I should be centered. It bothers me if I'm not centered. Do I sound okay?
You sound fantabulous.
I did my vocal warm up, so
Fabulous.
And nope.
Get all adjusted, all zhuzhed.
All right. Is it all right, whatever. Does that look all right?
Hi. Yes, Steve, you're super pretty.
Editing.
I feel like, and then just wherever it goes is wherever it goes.
Excellent. I did prepare a song just in case.
Excellent. I am prepared to listen to this song. Okay. Okay, I feel like I may have gotten all my giggles out, but maybe not.
Okay.
We'll see. Okay, so ready and where we shine a light on people, ideas, and innovations during the solar industry that's dumb. And in each episode, I interview just different people, experts, and that's dumb too.
Okay, cool. Got it. Carry on.
Okay, carry on.
To their business. Sorry. So it was a fairly liberal area. Roland ruins everything. I'm gonna go ahead and mute that.
Doesn't he know you're paying attention to me now? I get Steve time. He's had enough of you time. Now it's my turn.
Nice.
You're saying Oregon is a liberal area.
Yeah. Sorry.
So much whenever I have Steve time and you explain things. I really appreciate how you explain things, especially to somebody who's like, I don't know, which is me. All right. How do you see what excites you most about the solar industry? Nope. It would help if I could read words. Maybe I should make it bigger. I'm old now. Hold on.
Could work.
There. Now it's bigger. Okay.
Well, sometimes what keeps me up at night is our cat. That's not a good thing. That was last night. Yeah, and this is exactly what this is. It's so my mailbox at my house. It's I don't know. It's built into like a stone column or something. Anyway, so it's one of those things that you open the hatch and you get the mail out. I'm not great at checking the mail. This summer I went out to check the mail, and it had probably been a solid 2 weeks since the mail had been checked. And I had a note from the mailman, and it said, "Could you please get rid of the wasp nest in the mailbox?" and I opened the mailbox, and a swarm of wasps came out.
Yeah, I don't know if you were in the office the one time I brought the mail back in and I was sorting through it and an earwig like flew out on my desk and I screamed and I refused to sit back down at my desk until Roland came over and tried to find it, but he couldn't find it. And I spent the rest of the day on like high alert, like, I know it's gonna come crawling at me, and I never found it, and that still makes me feel uncomfortable to this day.
If I'd have been there, I 100% would have lied to you and told you I found it. I'm like, oh, there it is. You're good.
That's why I have trust issues.
Because, industries change, competitors adapt, and whatnot. So, you've got to be willing to take a product that you love and get rid of it and replace it with something better. What's going on? Just talking about infanticide.
Trucker just came in by the front door. It was like, hey, can I use your bathroom? And this is like, came around the corner. He's like, yeah, it's right here. And he's like, cool, thanks. And then like, stomped back to the bathroom. I'm so sorry to your ducky.
God bless him. Hopefully it's a good sign, but I couldn't hear anything at all. I was a little confused why you were laughing that hard. Like,
I know. You're like, I'm not that funny, Cheryl. You are funny, but not then.
I am. Yeah.
I know.
Okay, so did I finish my...
Yes.
Yeah.
Interpretive dance interview.
Momentito.
Words.
Can you ask me the question again?
No, because I totally just made it up.
No, I got it. No,
okay.
I'm good. I'm good. It's not an easy job to be an installer in an EPC, and if we can position ourselves for most of them to just be like, yeah, if you need racking, sorry, one tree's done. So it's exciting to be expanding the range of marketing products that we can offer.
Issues. Many companies in our industry have faced supply chain why can't I say that word? Disruptions. I can do it. Okay. So many people, nope. And then it might just be like, no, I can't. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Focus. Okay. You're not. You're not focused, Steve. You're wandering in the parking lot.
I'll sleep when I die. Was there an answer in all of that?
I'm sure it'll be fine.
So I distracted myself with my own answer. I had a completely different direction that was headed, and I got carried away.
And then I started to choke and die. It's fine.
Yeah. I'm gonna start that from the beginning. Give me a second. Yeah. Well, I apologize for rescheduling it as many times as I had. But this was fun.
I know. See, it's
I
good.
like this.
It's good. And you're good at it, Steve.
I like to talk.
This should be more of your wheelhouse, my friend.
Yep. No, this has been fun. And again, I apologize for making you work so hard for it. But yeah, it's been great.
Okay, let me make a wrap-up statement. Okay. You had as much fun watching that as I did filming it and editing it. Now your challenge. How many times did Steve say, Drop your guess in the comments below and you could win a prize. Thanks again.